When Ryan's when it's time to begin, it's on the Rewind to Raw with John Pollock and Wai Ting. The 18 that makes sense of these things we see in the ring every week on TV. It's Rewind to Raw for Monday night. Download it Tuesday morning from the Post Wrestling site. It's Rewind to Raw for Monday night on USA Now on the John and Wai Take the mic.
Hello, welcome. It's Rewind to Raw. I am John Pollock, joined by Wai Ting.
Hey, John, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Spectacular.
Really?
Yes, perfect.
Sometimes I can't tell. I mean, I'm reading more tone than the actual words that are coming out of your mouth, and I can't really tell today.
You don't believe me?
I mean, if you say so, I guess I have no reason not to believe you.
Well, how are you?
I'm good. I'm fine. Yeah, today was...
Now, what does that mean?
I actually had a pretty good day. It wasn't that eventful. Caught a nice nap. But I don't want to sound overly enthusiastic in case you had a really shitty day. So, it was okay. It was good.
Okay, just trying to detect your own bars and tone.
Okay. Well, I mean, I had a pretty good day. Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good. I'm glad that June 21st went down as such a high-ranking day for both of us.
What happened?
Culminate in this.
What happened? Sounds like you have something to say.
I'm not. You just reading me poorly. Come on here.
All right.
I'm a 10 plus. We have lots to discuss on tonight's show. We have a 3-hour Raw to get to. It's Hell in a Cell week continued.
Mm-hmm.
Can't get enough of these matches. I think, can they fit a cell into NXT tomorrow night?
That might be a tough one. But, come on. Just, put the cell in there permanently. Make it like the UFC Octagon. It should be a part of every match.
Yeah, it's the end of the school year, and this felt like, Fox got some really good grades. Your demo number's been pretty strong, so here's your, end of the school year present. Here's a Hell in a Cell match. And then Raw was like, they got a Hell in a Cell match. Why don't I get a Hell in a Cell match? It's like, oh, well, you know what, Raw? You've been slacking. It's not been as great of a school year for you. But Raw just whined and whined. It's like, fine, you can have one. But you're not getting 24 hours notice. You're getting 2 hours notice for your Cell match.
I mean, I think Raw deserves it. Raw stays behind for an extra hour every day at school. Doesn't really do it.
Sometimes does feel like detention.
Yeah. I think Raw has earned it.
Well, congratulations, Raw. You got your prize tonight. We have news to discuss and a big schedule this week coming up at Post Wrestling, which a lot of people are very intrigued by what we went to a focus group for a title, Pollock and Wai Talk, coming out on Tuesday.
All right. Yeah.
Sounds very cryptic. What could this mean? Pollock and Wai Talk. What could this show consist of?
Oh, well, we'll be gauging each other's tones, I'm sure, throughout the entire course of the podcast. But yeah, no, I'm excited for this. It's just me and John. We don't really have a movie or anything, any agenda, any wrestling show to talk about. So we're just gonna catch up with each other for the patrons.
I'm glad to know you're not coming into this with an agenda. That'd be very intimidating.
No, it'd be subconscious if I'm
looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to catching up and just chatting with you about anything.
Sure. I mean, I feel like we're building this up. It could be just really shitty.
It's gonna be monumental.
And, yeah. Okay. All right.
Well, you know what? At the end, we'll assess. We'll see how it went. That's coming out Tuesday. All patrons, you can check out the experiment. And then we've got Up Next on Tuesday night. Wednesday, Up Next is going to be busy. They've got Shot in the Dark. And then from Shot in the Dark to The Dark Knight. All of that in one day from the Up Next crew. So there you go. Braden and Davey will be chatting the 2008 classic starring Heath Ledger.
Yeah, some may consider it the best superhero movie of all time. Certainly the best Batman movie of all time. So they've been reviewing every single Batman film on their free feed. So I encourage everybody to go check that out on the Up Next feed.
A lot of Batman movies. They've been doing these forever, it seems like.
Oh, yeah. They're going to do all of them, including, I believe, the Lego Batman movie, which I'm very excited
So
maybe
they'll
even
be doing
join
this
them
for
that.
years, it sounds like. Okay, we'll check that out on Wednesday. Later on this week, we've got MCU Later. We're up to what I will call the mid-season point of Loki. Episode 3 coming up.
That is true, yeah. Episode 3, we're already halfway there. So, yeah, I'll be talking about it with WH Park. Have you been keeping up?
I have. I'm 2 episodes deep. I'm up to...
Okay.
I was intrigued to follow on episode 2, so I did watch it.
Thoughts?
Thus far, the multiverse stuff is I'm trying to keep up with all of this stuff.
It can be a lot. It's a lot even sometimes for me. You know, it just gets so nerdy and so technical. But once you get into it, I mean, I think the important thing is to not try to overthink it if you can. But yeah, it can be a little daunting.
Loki and Owen Wilson, like the two of them together they're really standing out for me. I think that's what is certainly I'm attaching myself to most in this series that is keeping me compelled beyond whatever realm and time continuum is being disrupted.
Well, that's where WH Park and I come in. Hopefully, those of you on the Patreon can enjoy MCU Later. That comes out every Thursday night / Friday morning.
Friday, mark this down. Nothing. We will be live, not on Friday, but on Saturday night. We will be live on Saturday night, 10:15 Eastern, after Saturday Night Dynamite. So Rewind to Dynadown continues for at least one more week, where we will review SmackDown and Dynamite on Saturday this week. So clear out your weekend plans and join myself and Mr. Ting as we will talk Kenny Omega, Jungle Boy, and whatever goes down on SmackDown as well. I'm looking forward to this on Saturday.
As am I, a rare Saturday show. What are you going to do with your Friday night?
On Friday, I will probably end up having to watch SmackDown at some point on Friday night, because Saturday during the day will not be very likely for me. There's also, I mean, we probably won't be talking about this. There's PFL and Bellator going head to head, which is a conundrum for one Eric Marcotte. But actually, PFL is the more intriguing of the two cards this coming Friday.
He's got 2 eyeballs. I imagine he'd probably have 2 TV screens somewhere. He could watch both at once. Type reports for both at once, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's not the most intriguing Bellator card. We're talking about an interim heavyweight title that will be decided. Not exactly the most exciting thing Bellator is putting forth in the coming months. And then Sunday, what better way to wrap up the week than with myself and WH Park, a man I have not spoken to in quite some time. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. We actually missed a cycle of our post-ProRes schedule. So we're going to catch up on a lot of stuff. We'll talk about Shingo Takagi, the state of New Japan, all the Dome shows that they have booked from now through September. And we will be going through Suwama vacating the Triple Crown Championship, the rave reviews for the last Stardom card. Lots to discuss with one WH Park. So I'm looking forward to that. That will be out Sunday evening.
Did you mention, John, the main event perhaps of the week? Bushby and Thompson's wrestling adventure on Thursday.
I was just about to get to it. They are going back to 2002 SummerSlam.
Yeah, a show I remember really well. I really love this show. Yeah.
With our own version of Julia Hart, Andrew Thompson, who I believe would have been 6 years old for this show.
Oh man, that is really the appeal of like these retro review shows, like to make me feel how old that I am, because Andrew
Julia Hart was not even one for SummerSlam 2002.
Oh God, shut up. Anyway, they'll be talking about SummerSlam 2002. Of course, this is Brock Lesnar versus The Rock up top, but I personally remember it for Triple H and Shawn Michaels for Shawn's return match, which was just a fantastic match. So a great era of a WWE.
Yeah, probably most people's favorite SummerSlam, I would say, from top to bottom. A really outstanding card from the company that year in 2002. So they will be going back. That's Thursday on the British Wrestling Experience feed. Whole schedule is up at postwrestling.com. And it's getting warm out. You don't want to get sunstroke. You might need some protection for your head. What could you help us out with, Way?
How about a hat, John?
Boom.
Either a snapback hat, like I've got right here, or if you prefer, a dad hat, recently released Thanks in large part to Martin Bushby, who actually got recognized, or at least the logo was recognized this weekend when he wore it out to a festival in the UK. So
He was at the Download Festival, I believe.
that's what it was. Okay, so
I think
somebody, if you're listening out there, if you said, "Hey, post wrestling" to the guy wearing the hat, that was none other than Martin Bushby.
Wow. I wonder if they thought it was you.
I doubt it. Maybe no. Maybe more likely you than me.
You never know. I believe it has happened once where someone came up and asked if I was Wai. I was very tempted to just go with it.
Oh, that would be hilarious.
Yes, I'm Wai. I'm Wai Ting. Nice to meet you.
Well, let's see how far that would go.
Well, probably not too far. Anyway, so there you go. I hope Martin had a great time.
I hope so too.
Do you think you'll go to a concert in the next 12 months? How about 6 months? How about 6 months?
Yeah, I think the answer would be yes. Yeah, definitely. This whole experience has made us really think about what we've been taking for granted. And I would say my concert going days were largely over, but now I definitely kind of crave, a bit of that experience. What about you?
I won't lie. Tonight during Raw, all those ads were playing for F9. I was like, God damn. I'm not going to a movie this Friday. 100% I'm not going to a movie this Friday.
You wouldn't be able to.
No, I wouldn't be. It's kind of unfair for us Canadians to be, just getting this thrown in our face that this is coming out. But my hope is that maybe I can go watch a movie by the end of the summer. That would be a nice goal.
That would be a great goal. And I definitely think I would do that as well.
I feel we're inching closer, but we're still like, for our American listeners, like you have lapped us and we're slowly catching up, but we're still far behind. Okay. We're not overtaking the US when it comes to the progress that they have made.
We're not very fast and furious with our reopening. We
are not. We are definitely, we've got a bike, but we've just upgraded and got an electric version. So we're getting there. We're getting there. But we're not going to beat anyone.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some news items, Wai. Are you excited?
Let's do it.
Well, tonight at Raw, before they went live, some interesting matches that went and were taped involving Karrion Kross against Shelton Benjamin and Bronson Reed against Drew Gulak. They had been there at SmackDown on Friday, and then I guess getting another look here. And it appears that these matches were taped for main event. And it's more so interesting of what is the end game here with Karrion Kross and Bronson Reed. I would think at the least you have to look at them being on probably a short list of, that they want to get a closer look at and where they go from here. Going over in both matches, so you did have your champions in NXT winning here.
The selection of the two names is what's most interesting because if they do get called up, it's another one of those situations where you have to feel bad for the creative team at NXT, like the two people holding the two big belts being taken away. Maybe it was just Vince saying, "Yeah, give me your champions, like give me the guys holding your belts." Who, they'd both be great fits on the main roster, I think. Simply due to size. And I think, they've shown enough ability to deliver scripted promo that I think they would do well.
I think certainly you look at Karrion Kross that he seemed, earmarked to be, it would not be a long stay in NXT. I guess the question now is just how long he remains there in NXT. But are you a little surprised that these were taped for main event, not just like a look at them without putting, they're going over. So I don't know if main event is enough of a priority that, hey, let's put them on main event so people will get their eyes on main event. I don't know. It's not a giant deal. I was more so surprised that they did this for the show that I don't know how many people are following.
Well, that's the thing. And number one, it kind of tells you, hey, it's just main event. Who cares? Who cares what impact this might have on our storyline? But secondly, maybe they have a limited amount of time of Vince's attention that they're Vince is not going to stay for 4 hours, 3.5 hours even, we got to fit this all in and we got to tape main event. So let's just put them on main event. I don't know. I'm speculating, but I think this should be what main event should be. like this should be the tryout for the NXT talent, like that might get called up onto the main roster. It would give us some reason to watch that show.
Maybe Bronson Reed will become a superhero.
Well, maybe.
To detect the spirit inside of him, Wai. To bring it out of him. GCW over the weekend, they ran a show in Wyoming, and this got like some attention over the weekend because this show that was titled Outlaw Mud Show, the cops arrived at this particular event, and there was a video posted of them, I guess, speaking to people. So I did inquire with the police department, and they did get back to me stating that there was a complaint of around 40 to 50 rowdy people. And once the patrol officers got there, they told me everything seemed calm and the crowd was dispersed. There were no citations or arrests. So it doesn't seem like there was anything significant that came out of this. But I mean, just the image of these police showing up at Outlaw Mud Show and getting acquainted with Nick Gage and Mance Warner. I would love to have seen that interaction, and maybe them. What does the MDK stand for? Many dreams and knowledge. I don't know.
I mean, I guess rowdy is what you would consider one of Nick Gage's qualities. Sure. So I'm sure he'd be amongst the 40 to 50 rowdy people.
This is actually for GCW. I mean, they are like trumpeting this fact that the cops arrived at their show. I mean, they're going to like
the best
use
thing
this
for them.
But it sounds like this was not really anything too crazy, and nothing coming out of it.
All right. Well, I'm glad nobody got arrested.
SmackDown and Dynamite on Friday night. SmackDown ended up doing a very good number. It was interesting because the numbers in the U.S. for both shows did very well, while the numbers in Canada did not, going against the NHL playoffs. So in the U.S., SmackDown was up at 2,040,000 viewers and a 0.54 in the demo. These numbers coming from Brandon Thurston. So it was their highest since that throwback edition of SmackDown back on May the 7th. Dynamite did its highest number of overall viewers on Friday nights with 551,000 viewers, 0.20 in the demo. Now in Canada, SmackDown and Dynamite were up against the Montreal Canadiens and Las Vegas Golden Knights game, which did 2,875,000 viewers. So pretty significant audience for Game 3. SmackDown did 133,000 viewers. It's way down from last week, but last week was also a very high number. So it's kind of in the middle of what it had done the last couple of weeks. So it wasn't a great number for SmackDown, especially considering the Hell in a Cell, but not a dreadful number. Dynamite, on the other hand, fell to 38,000 viewers on Friday night on TSN2. And this is after the prior 2 weeks doing over 94,000 and 67,000 respectively. So a big drop for Dynamite this past Friday night in Canada. But it's the U.S. numbers that you're going to focus on more heavily. And that was a positive story for both SmackDown and Dynamite, I'd say.
Yeah. I mean, it's all kind of a moot point, isn't it? Next week, it really is. The story is whether or not they can rebuild what they've had on a Wednesday, how much they can recoup from the month, pretty much. Sorry, not next week, but yeah, it is
a week Wednesday.
This Saturday, a week Wednesday. Yeah. I suppose, like, the more you kind of look at these numbers, does it change maybe your opinion about Rampage coming up in August? Do you think that they change anything about their promotional efforts or expectations for what's to come with Rampage?
I think what we're going to find out very quickly, like that first week of Rampage, you're going to get so much promotion for it. I imagine that first show is going to do very, very well. Once you're looking at week 4, week 5, I think we're going to know very quickly of how much more of an appetite is there for that AEW audience. We've seen the statistics in the Observer that, the idea of following SmackDown, what percentage of those viewers watching SmackDown are going to watch Dynamite, it's very low. I think the last number I saw was like 15% of the audience that watches a minute of SmackDown is watching a minute of Dynamite. So it's a very low amount that you would think that wrestling fans would sample Dynamite after. And I don't know if that's going to change in any notable fashion once Rampage airs. I think a lot of people are going to DVR Rampage, and we'll see if it becomes something that's a priority. It's going to be on AEW that makes this a must-see hour. I think it's to their benefit. It's 1 and not 2 hours, but it's going to be tough on Fridays. I think that's what you can take from these last 4 weeks of Dynamite, that it's not a given that you're going to replicate that audience from Wednesdays on Friday nights. So I think they're really going to have to build that Friday night block. I would say when you're looking at your big matches, it might take sacrificing some stuff on Dynamite and just really solidify Friday nights as must-see, where everything is happening, to establish that time slot, to at least build an audience that is used to watching Dynamite on a Friday night. But that's going to be tough. Like, it is a younger audience AEW is catering to. It's not the pandemic anymore, and I think people are going to be greatly wanting to be out on Friday nights. So I think it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think this experiment has only probably, made them temper their expectations for Fridays. But, if it is going to be a largely DVR show, is that going to be part of the strategy? I imagine, in commercial wrestling is still going to be a factor, maybe more in program advertising of some sort.
And that's not like the way the industry is evolving. It's not like DVR numbers are completely worthless at all. You're still reaching an audience. It's just looking at that total number. And I think that is something to look at as well, that if they're getting this gigantic audience that's supplementing the Friday night audience, I mean, that's something. And it ultimately comes down to TNT and next year TBS being happy with the numbers that they're hitting. But I think you have to come out of the bat with some really big stuff on those Friday shows, even if it means hot shotting some stuff
every week.
Yes, multiple Hell in a Cells, whatever you have to do. And on that note, the first week of Rampage, what they're going to do is they're going to Pittsburgh, and they're going to do a live Dynamite on August the 11th on the Wednesday at the Peterson Event Center. And then 2 nights later, they'll do the live debut of Rampage in the same venue. This isn't going to be the usual formula because, as Tony Khan has outlined, most weeks of Rampage will be taped, but they will be doing occasional live Friday nights. But for week 1, it's interesting that they're going to stay in the same city Wednesday and Friday, and I guess really try to market 2 nights of AEW in Pittsburgh.
Well, I mean, there's always some curiosity about that first one, but I mean, trying to do it in the same market to that same audience to come back after, 2 days is going to be a bit tougher. But I imagine they'll do some combo ticket deal. Which they are. Yeah. Yeah,
I would imagine there's a bit of a cost savings staying in one place over 3 nights, but it's a bit tougher, in a market like Pittsburgh to come back 48 hours later. But everything I think will be geared towards that Friday night, and really
have to be a good card. And I imagine it will be for that first show.
Probably something significant, you would think, with Britt Baker in Pittsburgh. This will be. They did run this. This was where one of the first Dynamites took place back in October of 2019. So they have run this building in this market in the past. And the last note is regarding Ariel Helwani, because on Monday he announced all of his plans post ESPN. There's quite a lot that he has revealed, which will be his next step, including a return to MMA fighting, where he's going to relaunch the MMA Hour. He's going to be doing it twice a week now on Monday and Wednesdays. He is also going to be doing a exclusive podcast on Spotify with The Ringer for pre and post fight coverage of major MMA cards. Then he's doing a role at BT Sport, which BT Sport is the broadcaster of both UFC and WWE in the UK and Ireland. And what's interesting about that spot is he's going to be doing MMA coverage as well as boxing and WWE. And this will include long form sit down interviews and I'm sure other projects. And then he's launching a Substack, and he's going to be operating his own YouTube channel for non-MMA content. So there's quite a lot here that he is filling up his plate with. Like it's pretty significant what he's doing. And I think this is going to be a really interesting deal that he has carved out for himself to see what works here, because in the short term, you're certainly looking at him working with a lot of, significant, the Ringer, with BT Sport, and with Vox Media through the MMA Hour. But I'll say long term, if his Substack and his YouTube channel really explode, that will be very valuable to what he's arranged for himself here, because, you're talking about someone that has the most recognition name-wise in the field. And, him having his own personal stuff that he can grow, he will be self-sustainable. And that's going to be kind of, I would imagine, the core. But it's really interesting what he's crafted out here and how this plays out for him. But it was interesting to see, that he's going back to MMA fighting.
I'm really excited to see how, I'm excited to hear the announcement, and I'm really excited to see how it plays out for him. He is a leader in our industry, and, he was somebody who had plenty of options, I'm sure, to go anywhere that he possibly wanted, stepped away from, if the reports are to be believed, even if it was like a reduced, ESPN contract, it was still a very lucrative, guaranteed ESPN contract. And instead choosing to go back to, I would say, an old familiar employer, but one that I think the audience really, really loved him being a part of in MMA fighting, and now branching off into, still keeping a big part into established things such as MMA fighting, or now BT Sport as well, while also dipping his foot into the entrepreneurial, self-employed side of things, to set himself up for the future. And I think all of it will be successful. It'll be great to see what it all turns into.
I mean, if this takes off for him in a significant way, I mean, to me, it's like, I am surprised that at the end of it, ESPN ultimately did not work out a deal for somebody that was and would continue to be the authority in the MMA reporting space, that they are deeply tied with UFC coverage, and somebody that, I mean, the guy is 38 years old. This is not somebody whose career is winding down anytime soon. So I think that this will be, I think he's carved out a really great path for himself, that he's not putting all his eggs into one basket. If you watch the video that he put out, he really did stress the desire to be independent and unfiltered. And I think you can read between the lines there of, with ESPN and how close they are attached with the UFC, that he wanted to be outside of that space. So, I mean, he's working with enough different outlets here that he is not going to be reliant on any one place. If one thing falls through, he's got more than enough. And I go to the Substack and the YouTube are very significant to this, because he builds that nucleus. It's that is his home base at the end of all of this. And once you're self-sustainable, you have a lot of freedom, and you can make a lot of decisions, and you can walk away from things when they're no longer suiting you.
I mean, he at this point, I think, can build his own network, build his own website of journalists and coverage if he really wanted to. But it'll take maybe baby steps to do it. But it's I think there's so many advantages, of course, to being attached to a bigger network, and of course being attached to ESPN. But I think for somebody like him, especially at his age, being as ingrained with social media as he is, to me the future is doing it on your own, with his own platforms.
All right, all of your news you can find up at postwrestling.com. A lot of stuff went up on the site today, so you can go check that out, along with our Hell in a Cell post show going through all of Sunday night's pay-per-view card. You can check that out, as we are live after every pay-per-view for our Double Ice Cap and Espresso patrons. And we will be live, at least on Saturday this week. And the next week, we return to our normal schedule, where we will be live Monday night, Wednesday night, Friday night. Back to normal.
I'm kind of looking forward to it. Yeah.
Are you looking forward to Raw? Were you looking forward to Raw as the clock turned to 8 o'clock Eastern?
Well, I don't know if looking forward would be the right word. I just at this point I can always count on something crazy to come out of the 3 hours, and we were not disappointed tonight.
We had a lot to talk about on this show. This is hardly a dull episode of Raw, but that can take you in many different directions. So it is Money in the Bank season, and the props department were very busy because not only do we have our 2 briefcases hanging from the ceiling, we've also got the old Hell in a Cell just up there, attached to the roof because they couldn't get around to it last night.
Dude, money in a bank in a cell? Hell in a money in hell bank in a cell. I don't know.
There's definitely a play on words with the money and the cell portion.
Yes. Yeah, no, are we going to get to the point now where we're mixing our stipulations? Like Survivor, Rumble, King of the, I don't know, what else have they got?
We got to have the sign,
King
point
of,
2,
yeah,
with a briefcase inside of a cell.
Sure. Like, let's just combine them all. Yeah, brilliant.
Bobby Lashley and MVP come out with Lashley's ladies, none of whom have names. They go over the match with Drew McIntyre, and they don't think that Drew will ever be the same. And they're about to have a toast with the champagne when the New Day comes out with actual toast that they start throwing at MVP and Lashley. This is the makings of our next championship program. MVP calls them clowns.
I mean, it was done for a point, right? It was done to show that, yeah, these guys they wasted a lot of food. They love wasting food, these guys. And they wasted a lot of time, or somebody else's time, into toasting all these pieces of bread.
What would have happened, like, if this were a real scene, Way, and MVP had said, let's all pour a glass and say cheers. And here you've made all this toast, and you come out, you'd look like a fool. Like, why toast?
I'm sure
how were they so simpatico with MVP?
Well, I'm sure they had a backup table of Cheers DVDs every season.
Yeah, was George Wendt going to come out with them? And maybe he would know all the ladies' names.
Oh, all right. Nice.
Kofi says he's going to win the title from Bobby Lashley. He made fun of MVP crying at the bar when he beat Daniel Bryan, and then points out that he beat Bobby Lashley. Now, please raise your hand if you remember this. It only happened a few weeks ago. But yes, they showed the video of Kofi rolling up Lashley. They did not show Drew hitting him with a cane that led to this finish, but they did point this out and was edited out by Kofi Kingston.
Yeah, I know.
This was some like underhanded tactics here by Kofi Kingston.
I thought Bobby Lashley made a great point.
So Lashley is challenged for Money in the Bank by Kofi, and he just accepts, just like that.
I mean, it wasn't like Lashley was pissed off that Kofi did that. That's why he was like, this guy thinks he actually beat me legitimately. I'm just going to take the match.
All these other fools on this show, they're going to kill themselves tonight just to try and get into a match where you're going to have to kill yourself to get a briefcase, to get the chance, to get the title match. You could just ask for it.
Well, realistically, Kofi, I think, would have been the contender anyway, right? Even though, I guess, didn't he lose like a contenders match? Like,
yeah, he lost the match with Drew.
Well, whatever. He probably would still be a number 2 contender.
Sure. But then Lashley suggests facing Xavier Woods tonight. And Woods comes back and says that MVP and Lashley have the old school mentality, having toxic testosterone-filled meatheads without the mental acuity to perceive a Renaissance man like Woods. Which is what I was thinking as well. He noted his 2 million plus YouTube subs, work on G4, and the tag titles he's won. So he accepts a match with Lashley, but it will be inside Hell in a Cell, which, again, these guys, from the toast to the cell placement, everything was in alignment for the New Day to have a big night here, and everything worked out to perfection until the Hell in a Cell match took place.
Well, in my mind, I think Woods just came out here. Okay, and I'm talking in character and story. Woods came out here with the toast thing. He was going to do something funny. And then he gets challenged to a match. He looks up. Cell's still up there.
Take it down, Kofi.
Take it down. This is my chance. You know Woods is not going to get a singles Hell in a Cell match ever in his career. This is his only chance. He was like, and let's make it for the Cell. And they accepted it. And in reality, it's just whatever. The thing is already up there. They're in the same building. Drop it down, and hopefully you'll add a point or two into the ratings, you know? The gimmick is about as dead as it's going to be. And
it helped the SmackDown number, but I think that was also a much more intriguing match that you had. But we'll see. Maybe this one will work on 2.5 hours notice.
They should just have the Cell ready at all times, ready to drop down.
First time on Raw in 23 years, a Hell in a Cell match.
Do you remember the last one?
It was, I want to say, it was involving Kane and Mankind.
Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah, I thought this was a really good segment. You know, like most New Day segments, there feels like an element of improvisation and organic rapport that doesn't really exist on a lot of Raw segments. And I thought Lashley MVP had it with the New Day here. MVP sounds great under really any circumstance, but I thought this was like some of the most natural dialogue that I've heard from Lashley during this title run. You know, it's not at the point where I want to see him disassociated with MVP, but Lashley is like showing that he's not just a Brock Lesnar. He can speak for himself to flesh out his own character and his own storylines when he needs to. And I thought they got to the challenge in a pretty believable way.
So this might have been a record for Raw because about an hour or so before the show, they announced 5 qualifying matches for Money in the Bank. And after this first segment, we had every match announced for tonight's show.
Yeah.
We didn't have one impromptu match tonight.
And we didn't have one match changed in the middle of the show.
No impromptu 6-man from a singles match that it's turned into. Nothing. Everything was planned out with like 90 minutes notice before the show started, save for the Hell in a Cell that they established in segment 1. So the qualifying matches began with AJ Styles against Ricochet. But first, Styles and Omos are in the back from earlier in the day with the Viking Raiders, who AJ calls less than zero. You're nothing. They're actually a deficit, technically. And Ivar's eating his turkey leg. AJ calls them stinking barbarians and then knocks the leg to the ground, which would end up costing him dearly by knocking this meat to the ground.
Turkey leg. I don't think that's not cheap meat. These are big turkey legs. It's got to be at least like, I don't know, $5 a pound, probably.
This was an awful segment backstage. I mean, just like no life at all that these four have to show to make this feel at all like they have any care in this imaginary feud they're having.
No, it's terrible. Yeah. I mean, can you name one good Viking Raiders backstage segment?
When Eric did Raw Underground.
I don't think that... Well, that was actually probably... Yeah, he actually looked pretty good, but that doesn't really count.
It was backstage, kind of.
I can name you plenty of bad Viking Raiders segments, though.
Ricochet did an inset promo. He has competed for the WWE title. So I know how far of a fall it is after you fail. But I am a rarity, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I thought the Imagine Dragons was going to pop up on the screen and play him to the ring. So Ricochet has failed so spectacularly that he knows what it feels like to be a failure.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, the guy's on like 205 Live now. You know, he went from fighting Brock Lesnar to 205 Live. That's a pretty bad fall.
He's already won.
True, you're right. Yeah,
not even supposed to be here.
He's a champion of participation.
So they didn't even have enough time here to really have, a higher end of even an AJ Styles Ricochet Raw match with a commercial break in between it. But that's what they had here. The calf crusher was broken with the rope, and then an Ushigoroshi by AJ sets up for the phenomenal forearm, but the Viking Raiders run down and go after Omos, who ends up charging, missing the Viking Raiders, and crashing through the barricade to his, eternal damnation. We never saw him, even recover from this. He just went through this barricade, and I don't know what happened to him. So AJ is distracted by all of this. goes for the phenomenal forearm and is caught with the recoil in midair, and Ricochet kicks off the night of upsets, pinning AJ Styles, and Ricochet qualifies for the Money in the Bank ladder match.
Yeah. Yeah, like the last time we saw this match, it's a good match for Raw standards, but you see these two and you think about the potential that they could have in a different setting. But on Raw as a background for a bigger story, yeah, I thought it was good. Tells you that they still see enough value in a Ricochet at least to think that he would be a worthy addition to a Money in the Bank match. Not for a second do I think anybody thinks of him as an actual contender, but he'll be a lot of fun to watch in a ladder match. And of course, it puts AJ almost on their tag team course with the Viking Raiders.
Yes. I hope they can just let that one breathe.
Yeah.
Hang up a turkey leg for the next 4 weeks on Raw to lead to Money in the Bank.
Yeah, they can. Yeah, a lot of turkey legs. Sure.
Randy Orton, a clean-shaven Randy Orton. He got rid of the the goatee look.
Oh, interesting.
Gone. Yeah.
You disappointed?
I mean, it was a different look for him. I guess he just got sick of it.
Maybe he's turning heel. That's why.
Okay.
I don't know.
Riddle shows up with the new RK Bro merchandise. They now have a coffee mug. And he starts talking about Burger King. Doesn't trust Burger King. Orton tells him, stay out of my way, when asked for pointers if they are both to qualify for Money in the Bank. And Riddle is going to hide his stash of Whoppers if he gets the briefcase.
I mean, it's the level of comedy you've kind of come to expect from these two, and if you love it, you love it. If you hate it, you hate it. Tonight, I thought it was cute. I actually really appreciate Orton's acting in this segment. When we talk about his in-ring style, he's somebody who definitely works with the pauses in between the action, and that seems to extend to his promo and backstage segments as well. Because I think his ability to play with silence in between the dialogue was really good here. And he and Riddle, I thought, continued to, keep up the appeal of their chemistry, teasing a little bit of tension now heading into Money in the Bank.
Kevin Patrick spoke with Eva Marie, and they had actually a wording for this in the Raw preview. The unnamed
mysterious friend.
It was I can pull it up, but I'm not that curious.
Did it have alliteration attached to it?
There was no alliteration, so it might have even just been... I'll pull it up here. Let's get the actual description here that they used on the website. It was Piper Niven was identified as her dominant cohort.
Dominant cohort, okay.
Yeah, dominant cohort. A better name. So Eva Marie calls Kevin Kyle and explained that she got her nails done last week and then caught a cold, so she couldn't wrestle.
Yeah, no, she shouldn't even be in the building.
I mean, these are
wear a
symptoms.
mask at least.
At the very least. What she learned from this last year. So her protege stepped in, and she goes to deliver her name, and Piper is about to say what her name is, but Eva stops and names her Doudrop. And Piper does not look satisfied with this name.
She was actually mouthing the word Piper repeatedly, so that in reality is still her name, but Eva Marie has dubbed her on Raw Doudrop. Doudrop.
Yes.
Yeah, thoughts on the name?
Any name you come up with in WWE, there should be a rule that you run it through Urban Dictionary first.
Okay, and does this one pass?
Search at your own discretion. Asuka and Naomi took on Eva Marie and Doudrop. Naomi and Asuka did a promo before.
How do you spell the Doudrop from Urban?
It may be DEW, although that's not how WWE is spelling the name.
Okay, interesting.
Naomi is caught off guard with Eva's protege last week and said even after the loss, they can't dim the glow. So we had a quick match.
Okay, sorry. When you said spark and glow, I thought we were already onto the Nikki Cross thing. I'm like, are we already there?
No, we're still on we're still on the tag match. So Eva will not tag in. She's on the floor. So we've got Doudrop working with Asuka. They better get through this name phase very quick, because I can't do these recaps identifying Doudrop. She hits an avalanche, cannonball, and then gets onto the middle rope when Eva tags herself in to go for the pin. Naomi kicks out, and then Doudrop is on the floor avoiding the tag, so Eva gets rolled up as she's dealing with Doudrop, and Naomi pins her in 2:52. So this is record time that we're already doing the tease of the breakup between the two on week 2. So that is record setting that they are going to dissension between them.
For her sake, I hope this wraps up next week, man. Are you kidding me? Like, the quicker you can get through this storyline and just settle into a spot on the main roster, the better. Because it's a very outdated type of gimmick of, I guess the protege standing up for herself against the, egomaniacal role model type. But the head writer is a 70-year-old man, and this is how he knows how to get people over. Story and terrible name aside, I think it's nice to see like a fresh, high-level veteran Piper Niven get involved in the mix with people like Asuka. And so once the story is over, once she settles into the system, I hope it means some strong singles matches with her and some of the rest of the roster.
You seem very optimistic that this act is going to be designed to get Piper Niven over instead of Eva Marie.
She is the one wrestling, okay? And, at least tonight she came out of it looking like...
Who got 2 months of vignettes?
Well, I mean, that was all the swerve, I think. Like, you're supposed to think about Eva Marie, but ultimately it's... the goal is to have both of them get over, right? But I also don't think Piper Niven's just here to be forgotten about.
I don't think so either, but I think that to do this story... You have to tell the story first, that this woman is being abused by Eva Marie, is being used by Eva Marie. They haven't even we haven't even done chapter 1 and we're doing the breakup.
Well, chapter 1 was...
How can I be rooting for Piper Niven when it's like I've not even seen the start of this? I saw her come out and win last week, and now we're doing a breakup? I have no feelings because I don't know what's going on here.
You want to cheer for her because her name is Doudrop, and you know that she is named Doudrop not because of her own choosing. You want to cheer for her because she is put in a storyline with Eva Marie, and you want to cheer for her because hopefully you enjoy her in-ring wrestling.
Well, I've wanted Dolph Ziggler to change his name since 2009, and I'm still waiting for that. I felt awful that this guy was given that name.
Well, that one's a bit of a lost cause.
Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville bring out Rhea Ripley. They explain, we're going to try and make sense of this character for you all. They call her actions last night unacceptable. Her response was, what are you talking about? She got herself intentionally disqualified. That's the story. And Rhea defended herself, saying she's tired of seeing Charlotte Flair break the rules. I only did what she would have done, which makes no goddamn sense in a championship match that Charlotte would have disqualified herself.
I guess she's saying if Charlotte was the champion, she would have gotten herself DQ'd to get out of the match.
Okay. So Flair walks out.
Either way, it's terrible, logic for anybody, much less a champion. And this, again, even though I would say, Rhea wrestled the match last night as a babyface, she's clearly not a babyface.
Dude, I don't know what is going on here. I have no attachment to this angle, this story, these characters. Flair walks out. She says she is not upset. She's proud of Ripley for being clever and just as strategic as me. But I will destroy you. So Sonya Deville announces a rematch at Money in the Bank. So we are going to get 4 more weeks of build-up for this. They didn't even throw in a stipulation here. Isn't it obvious that it's no holds barred? It's no disqualification. Maybe that will come, but that seemed obvious that to make this rematch, we have to curb what happened last night.
Completely. It makes last night's finish completely unjustifiable. You know, you ran the experiment last night. It completely failed. And now we're just going to do it again with no other change.
We're gonna get a nail gun and we're going to latch the panel onto the desk so you cannot rip it off.
The key is the panel.
The commentary will be done remotely. There will be no desk at ringside.
That's the stipulation. Yeah, we're gonna get the desk out of there.
Dude, I don't know how they can squeeze 4 weeks out of these two. I don't know what they're going to do.
Well, we need another Nikki Cross to beat them both. Every single
Nikki's
week.
busy. Nikki's got other things.
Yeah.
Nikki is well ahead of these two in the pecking order, in my opinion.
The story is just a mess. You know, besides, I would say just the terrible finish to the match, the whole Nikki Cross thing. The bare bones of it is that you have Charlotte, who is a heel, and you have Rhea Ripley, who is your current champion, who is
trying to get out of matches with Charlotte after she came in as like the kick-ass babyface.
Think about what you've done with her, okay? You've had her enter a beat the clock challenge where she forgets to look at the clock and loses to Nikki Cross. All right? And then like she gets herself DQ'd to exit a match at a pay-per-view. And like week after week she just like, you know, whines and complains. It's a whole different person from what we saw in NXT, even different from what we saw at WrestleMania a year ago. And it's the same two people having this match. So I'm just completely flabbergasted at how this feud continues to unfold. It's really bad. I'd rather be Nikki Cross right now than these two.
We got a reminder of why Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke are now heels with a recap of last week's photo shoot. So literally, the tables have turned because now Tamina and Natalya are doing their own photo shoot and being interviewed when they hear a noise in the background. And who's working out in the practice ring but Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke? So Natalya and Tamina ask them, can you guys take a break? Part of being champions is doing media. Rose and Brooke it's brought to their attention by Natalya that I beat you last night, and Rose and Brooke shrug their shoulders and say, so? And challenge them on the spot. So? What if Drew McIntyre was told, you don't get a shot at Lashley anymore because you lost last night? So? All right, fine. So Mandy and Dana welcome them into the ring, and as they climb the apron, get kicked to the floor, and then Mandy channels her inner Kevin Nash and yells, how's that for working smart? There are some epic ideas that are being greenlit for matchup scenarios, and we got them all tonight. How's that for working smart? We didn't let you into the practice ring.
You know, in terms of, I guess, production budget, I think we could tell where Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke versus Natty and Tamina ranks, because some feuds get Hells in a Cell, some feuds get Black Goop, some feuds at least get the benefit of taking place in the arena. These four get the training ring and the photo shoot area to tell their entire story, and it's awful. Dialogue is awful. Delivery is awful. It's just not that great.
You know what this reminded me of with Natalya and Tamina not able to get into the ring? It took me back to the reverse battle royal.
Oh, that should be the match.
Could be. They start on the floor, and who can get into the ring first?
That's working smart.
And then the match begins.
Mm-hmm.
They showed us shots of Drew McIntyre's back, and then Corey Graves says that Lashley having another Hell in a Cell match tonight might be the most inadvisable decision of his career. He has had way worse nights of his career.
Yeah.
I think he's doing just fine. Randy Orton and John Morrison. I looked this up, and to my knowledge, this is the first time these two have had a singles match together. Which is wild when you think about it. They had a triple threat in August of 2010 with Ted DiBiase Jr. They've been in matches together, but not a singles match that I could find.
That's amazing.
That is wild when you think about it. The Miz is out in his wheelchair on commentary. Huge part of this. Morrison would work on Randy's shoulder. So they brought up all of Orton's shoulder issues. They go through the break. And then, dude, I thought my computer fucked up again because all of a sudden the video's running and I've got Vin Diesel talking over it. I'm like, I closed my other windows. It's Raw. And they piped in an F9 promo over the match. This is the most intrusive ad I have ever been subjected to outside of a website just like freezing my thing with like a pop-up.
I think this has happened before where I think in the USA feed, they probably actually get the picture-in-picture commercial. But in Canada, we just hear the audio, so it just kind of comes out.
This was not picture-in-picture. This was audio on picture.
Yeah.
Oh, this better not be like the new trend of ads. Is we're just going to put the audio over top. It was very jarring for 30 seconds.
I mean, it's their bigger market is the US, and everybody else just has to check their browsers to make sure they're closed.
Orton is sent shoulder first into the post, and then Morrison is working on a Kimura. This was all playing to Jimmy Smith's specialty. Then Orton hit a draping DDT. He signals for the RKO when Miz shoots him with the dripstick. He shoots the man with a water gun. Riddle comes down on the scooter, chasing the Miz. This was Three Stooges level comedy.
This is when they should have aired the F9 trailer. You know, this thrilling car chase between the man in the scooter and the man in the wheelchair.
They picked the wrong spot. Orton then gets snapped on the top rope and hit with Starship Pain as Riddle is chasing the man in the wheelchair, and Morrison pins Orton in 12:41 as they yell, "Another upset!"
Well, I actually enjoyed watching Morrison here. I thought the match showed his versatility. I thought his groundwork looked pretty good. He was changing up his style, and I thought Jimmy Smith sounded good. You know, allowed him to shine on commentary. And you know, what's your assessment about Jimmy Smith thus far, 3 weeks in?
I think he's fine. I mean, I'm not going to just, bell curve him because he's fine. Like that's where I'm at. Like, he's not an intrusive voice. I think in time he's going to get better. He sounds very relaxed. He seems like he does his research. There's a catch up point, but I think he's good. He's not a detriment to the broadcast. I also don't think he's, a spectacular pro wrestling play-by-play announcer in his fourth week.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, for somebody with that level of experience, I think he's taking to it really well.
He comes across very enthusiastic. I think that helps a lot. And that
yeah, I'm interested to see how he develops and where he goes. But who knows what they look for in these commentators? Because is he necessarily better than a Tom Phillips? Not really. So what benefits are they getting from him? I'm not entirely sure, but nonetheless, they wanted to change, and I think at least we can say that Jimmy Smith, I think for his level of experience, is doing a good job.
And I think, I think he's going to be here for some time. It seems like there's no reason not to be satisfied with the performance. It seems to be met with I think fairly, positive reaction.
Only one reaction matters.
That's true.
I don't know if we could predict that one.
Kevin Patrick spoke with Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, and they talked about last night. Baszler isn't scared by anyone in the locker room, and nothing will stop us from qualifying. Jax says there's something different about Alexa Bliss. Yes, her theme song. There was something different, and she came out to this new theme.
Oh, didn't realize. It's good.
We then go to a close-up shot of Nikki Cross, who is looked like she had just spray painted the mask from the Hamburglar and wants to display physically to the fans what she feels inside, this spark. And we zoom out to see Nikki Cross getting all set for Halloween, and said, this embodies what we all have inside of us, our spirit. And she is dressed up as an adult in a superhero outfit. And according to Killian Dane, her husband, he wrote, "She had an idea and saw it brought to life. Very excited to see what's next." So that would indicate that this was her pitch, and she is now a superhero that we are living vicariously through her spirit.
Yeah, man, they really broke the budget, I think, for this. You think they called the MCU people to design this outfit?
This was not exactly, Tony Stark's backup gear. I will say this, okay? There is a realization point you have when you're on this show, okay? You might have dreams of being a Trish Stratus level, figure. There's also the stability in finding a character like this that will get you plenty of TV time. You're going to be in a safe spot. You're never going to be a main eventer with this gimmick, but you're also never going to be completely discarded, like we have nothing to do with you. This carves you into a spot where it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but it's something goofy, and goofy sometimes works. Sometimes there's a short shelf life to it. Her goal is to hopefully make this thing last for as long as it can.
Your goal, if you're an employee of the WWE, is to please Vince McMahon and come up with ideas that he would be interested in. And evidently this was one of those ideas. I think maybe we could see a bit clearer now that this was perhaps the reason why she beat Rhea and Charlotte, to set her up for this, to give her the false confidence that she can somehow be this superhero based off of those very cheap wins off of those two. I get the sense that she's, very much doing it as the Hurricane, like somebody who is delusional, who thinks that she is a superhero when in fact she's just, a pretty average wrestler. The way they introduced her with this close-up promo was certainly, God, it was laughably bad. But we have to see how the gimmick is, what the intent is. If the goal is to be laughably bad, I mean, it could turn out either way. She could be the next Hurricane, or she could be the next Arachnaman. So either way, I have to say it was captivating. I don't know if it was all for the right reasons, but I was captivated.
I don't know if I was captivated. I think her best bet, aim for some merchandise and an action figure. That's what you should be shooting for.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. I mean, Helms is still using that gimmick today. Look how far it's taken him.
So our tag match is Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross back together.
No explanation.
Just they're teaming together to get into the Money in the Bank ladder match.
They're both a little off now. That's what bonds them.
Against Nia and Shayna Baszler. So Nikki hits a hot...
Let me just say, it's quite the task to overshadow Alexa Bliss and her current character in terms of just craziness. But Alexa was not the strangest thing in this match.
No, she was almost kind of secondary in this match.
Yeah.
Because Nikki did get the focus. She hit a big high cross to Jax, Baszler, and Reginald to set up the commercial. Afterwards, Bliss comes in and she hits a code red out of the corner, does her alligator walk, and tags Kross. Baszler almost runs into Nia by mistake, and Nia gets so mad she goes to the floor. Bliss then puts Reginald into the trance, lifts up his hand, but then pulls up before he slaps Nia. And then they hug and embrace. Kross drop kicks them down, but then Kross hits Baszler using the Magistral Cradle to pin her in 10 minutes and 10 seconds. So Kross and Bliss advance to Money in the Bank.
At this point, when you've already introduced mind control and terrorizing dolls into a feud, I guess a superhero fits right in. And I've just kind of you just have to let yourself go and just surrender yourself to watching this stuff. It's a clusterfuck, it's a DDT match, it's the Invisible Stain, Invisible Man type of thing. And, it's kind of mindless, silly hilarity. If you're watching this, expecting stardom, this was not that. But
that's what I was expecting.
Yeah, I mean, but even if you're expecting camp, I mean, to some people this would be pretty offensive in that department as well. But
I'll say after tonight's match, we've got the 4 Raw women that are in the match, and we don't know, obviously, the SmackDown performers. I think there's like a decent probability of Nikki or Alexa winning this.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they're putting a lot of weight behind it. I see
ahead of Naomi and Asuka are not winning this.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, well, they need their own ridiculous off the wall gimmicks now.
That's true. Naomi's too grounded for this company.
She should be like sort of like the electricity super.
Yeah, like glowing, like stuff coming out of her hands, her mouth.
Yeah.
Great. Drew McIntyre is in the back, and he speaks with Pearson DeVille. He went through a war and quotes Winston Churchill and will never surrender. He's going through hell right now, so he might as well keep going. I think that's a WCW quote from 2000. And
so they had Drew come out of this like excellent war last night with some legitimate battle scars, which I mean they did show off. But then like they keep wanting to revert back to this history teacher Drew McIntyre thing he's been trying to work in, and I don't get it at all. Like this Winston, like it just feels so forced, and rather than feeling
I'm waiting for that NBC The More You Know to just slide across the screen right after.
Yeah, like rather than feeling like the hero of the show, he feels kind of more like the weird shirtless guy you see working out in the park, like just screaming about something from like the past that no one else would care about. So I just don't get this element to Drew McIntyre at all.
Dude just sliced a table in half with a claymore. That's the park bench. So, the best segment of the night. Pearson DeVille, who are just all over the show. They run into Jinder Mahal, Shanky, Rinku Singh, Cedric Alexander, Jeff Hardy, and Sheamus. And they're all pissed. They said, who booked Karrion Kross and Bronson Reed taking up our main event spots? We got nothing to do tonight. Cedric Alexander complains. All of these people are pissed because they're not even in the qualifying matches for Money in the Bank. That's how far they've fallen. Jeff Hardy, the ladder specialist, he's not even at the level of Ricochet anymore. That's where he's fallen.
Well, he should have won last week.
I guess so.
He only won one match. He should have won both.
Cedric calls them antiques from the past, whereas he is the youthful member of this discarded group of Raw talent. Hardy responds, Cedric, are you forgetting about my victories over you the last few weeks? Maybe you should stop future tripping and worry more about the current beatings here in the present from this antique. Dominic, you had a great run, but I'm moving over to Raw because Jeff Hardy has reclaimed the throne.
Oh, yeah.
Cedric, are you forgetting about my victories over you? Future tripping. Dude, like Jeff Hardy is just, how has he found himself in here?
I mean, he's past a certain age. He's an old toy in a sandbox.
He's an antique.
New toys. An antique, yes.
DeVille says all the qualifying matches are final. Sheamus got to call them gobshites on television, and he should automatically be in a match because he's the U.S. champion. This man made great sense.
Yeah.
This man should not be below Ricochet. This man should not be below John Morrison.
Yeah, it's true. Well, he hasn't been defending all that much.
They did make it clear his nose was broken. So there is a health reason for him not being in this. And then when he was asked about his nose, he goes to check on it from a doctor. Jinder got through this promo summarizing it by stating, if he can be an alternate in case someone gets hurt. They did not give him an answer, and by the end of the night, no one got injured, so this was a moot point.
The idea is that somebody in the future will get injured, perhaps at the hands of Jinder and his associates, and that'll set Jinder up to replace them. My guess is it'll probably be Ricochet.
Dude, this was an unbelievable segment of, I would say with the exception of Sheamus, who's got the injury, you would not want to be within 100 feet of this segment if you are a performer. If you're a performer, this segment is your labeling by this company of where they have slotted you.
Yeah, I mean, that was evident to begin with. I don't even think we saw Jinder last week. And
Jinder came back with these two, and they've gone nowhere with it since.
Yeah, so I mean, this is kind of the Raw low undercard, low mid card, but I would still probably rather be these guys in the 24/7 division, which I think it feels like it's done.
It's on hiatus, I guess.
Yeah.
Riddle and Drew McIntyre is our qualifying match. Drew, they are explaining, is barely conscious because of the beating he took last night. And Corey Graves is the first one to ask the question, what happens if Drew wins the briefcase? He can't challenge Bobby Lashley. This is a very relevant question. Byron Saxton's answer was that, well, he's got a whole year, so he can wait for Lashley to lose, or our top babyface can go to SmackDown.
Yeah. That's been established.
Well, that's a great decision to make on Raw's behalf.
Yeah,
so
I don't know.
That is what is at stake here. So these two had a pretty great match. They went almost 23 minutes. They fought on the turnbuckle. Drew fell down into the Tree of Woe and then powered up with a German suplex. Riddle played to Drew's strengths very effectively. And then as they got set for the second commercial break, Randy Orton comes out and Riddle is just ecstatic. This was like Dad showing up at the championship softball game. And Riddle is just blown away that he's here to watch. He hits the final flash onto Drew, but then Drew hits him with the Michinoku driver, the Doudrop, and then gets caught with a triangle.
Is that the other Eva Marie partner?
Could be, yes, Drew. Riddle gets slammed out of that. The Future Shock is hit, and then Riddle collapses as Drew is getting set for the Claymore. They continue fighting. Riddle misses a floating bro, and then Drew goes for the Claymore again and is caught in the bro mission. He gets to his feet, and Riddle transitions and uses a victory roll, 22 minutes and 49 seconds, catching McIntyre, continuing the string of upsets. And then Riddle rides the scooter up to Orton, puts out his fist, and Orton is not looking happy. And Riddle tells him, "What's wrong? Just talk to me. I'm always here for you, bro." So Riddle is qualified. Orton has not. But a pretty great match between these two.
I thought the match was great. You know, really fantastic selling from Drew throughout the entire thing. Doing a great job conveying the pain of every move, whether he was being attacked or doing the attacking. I think it was a finish that necessitated him doing a great job with the selling in order to protect himself in a clean loss to Matt Riddle. I think Riddle's strength is his offensive sequences, and I thought he played a great partner to Drew here. These two have pretty good chemistry. It was pretty bold, I would say, having Drew McIntyre lose in a fashion like this. But I thought it was effective in, again, conveying Drew's damage while also furthering the descent between Orton and Riddle.
Yeah, I kind of like that they shook things up and went with some unpredictable endings to the matches. And on top of it, you did some, I'll say, relatively clean finishes. Like you got one here. AJ and Ricochet, not as much. Morrison, if you want to include a squirt gun, which I don't know how much credence you give that one, but they tried to really emphasize the
this was the cleanest of them all.
Going over. This was completely clean. Yeah.
And it was Drew McIntyre. Well, I mean, he had the injuries, but, no shenanigans outside of that. Like, it was the most pro wrestling, pure finish.
And kind of sending Drew into this, losing streak, almost, after this dominant run. Now, with all that said, this was just the salt in the wound for the backstage main event crew. Next week, it will be Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, and AJ Styles in a last chance triple threat qualifying match.
Oh, I hate that shit. Yeah.
So one of them will get into the match.
Don't like that.
Which I imagine, I can see it being Orton. Orton would make the most sense.
Oh, it could be any of them. Come on. You just lost. There should be no second chances.
I don't think Drew's, well, I guess you could put Drew in the match. I guess that's an option. He doesn't have a clear-cut next program, but they could just keep the...
I almost got the sense they might do Jinder, because Jinder said some words about Drew in his promo.
That's right. You could have Jinder get into this three-way, attacking one of them, and then they're injured. They did have that line at the end as the alternate, so you could get Jinder involved. We got a huge recap of Elias and Jackson Riker, and then what a segment this was. Jackson Riker is just in the back snapping a leather strap as Mansoor comes up, and of all people, it's Jackson Riker. He wants to pick his brain and ask some advice. Riker does not respond. He goes to leave, and then Riker pipes up, "Never let your enemy escape. Often those close to you are wolves in sheep's clothing. And next week, he will face Elias in a strap match." Mansoor just responds, "Makes perfect sense. Thanks, man." I like Mansoor. I think he's got like a real good delivery about him. And this is actually kind of funny, him playing off like this goofball Jackson Riker.
I like the use of Mansoor as sort of like the viewer's avatar. You know, he plays like sort of I think he would be a good Jim Halpert type to make just a face to point out the ridiculousness of a pro wrestling backstage area. So it was cool.
Ali is right there and tells Mansoor he's asking the wrong questions and asking the wrong people. Those in the qualifying matches stole those spots from us. And if they won't even let you climb the ladder of success, you have to build your own ladder to climb. And our final shot is Riker whipping himself with this strap.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that Hell in a Cell got 2 hours notice, but we've got a week to prepare for the strap match to let everyone be aware.
Well, all right.
Big match. And then we go to the Hell in a Cell match between Bobby Lashley and Xavier Woods. Kingston and MVP are outside of the cell. We got a chair involved. Then Woods gets trapped in the ring skirt. Bobby's attacking him while Kofi scolds him, yelling, "You're supposed to be almighty. You're supposed to be almighty." We come back from the break. Of course, the kendo stick finds its way into the ring. MVP is telling Bobby to treat him like a court jester. And Byron Saxton asks if this is where the proverbial Band-Aid gets ripped off of Bobby Lashley. I bring this up because we didn't have a proverbial Band-Aid to rip off. We had a literal Band-Aid on Bobby Lashley's shoulder, and it was peeling off, and there was this nasty wound underneath. The timing could not have been better.
Yeah.
It's exciting stuff. Woods got his big sequence of spots, including a flying elbow drop, putting Lashley through a table for a 2 count. He then, Lashley sends him into a chair in the corner, hits the spear, and submits him with the Hurt Lock in 13 minutes and 40 seconds. MVP, who once again finds himself inside of the cell, locking Kofi out, allows Lashley to continue to beat on Woods, put him in the Hurt Lock right in front of Kofi, who can do nothing from outside of the cell. And that's how we go off the air, as we are going in the direction of Bobby Lashley and Kofi Kingston for Money in the Bank. And so concluded a very busy edition of Raw.
Mm-hmm. I thought this made, my expectations are a bit lower for TV cell matches than pay-per-view, and so I was entertained. I thought this was a good hardcore match with a cell around it. I thought it made Lashley look really dominant against somebody he can, believably just kind of beat up. But Woods played a very effective babyface, and it set up a nice way to close the show with the best friend of the next title challenger getting tortured by the champion. So I enjoyed this segment. I really enjoyed everything involving Kofi and Lashley on the show. I really liked the Drew Riddle match. I think all the men's Money in the Bank qualifiers were at least enjoyable in match quality and rather, pleasantly surprising in booking. It was like it made all the qualifiers, even though I don't believe like a Ricochet or, John Morrison have any chance of winning. They are enjoyable additions to see in a ladder match, and I thought it started them off like on a good note. But on the women's division on this show,
this women's division is a mess.
It's every program is bad from the top down. Charlotte Rhea.
And there's so many programs. I mean, you have it's great that you have all these women that are regular parts of the show, but they're all involved in these terrible stories.
Really, really terrible. Charlotte Rhea is an awful heel versus heel feud with the terrible finish last night that just gave me little faith that anything will be different for the next month. It's, Natalya and Tamina versus Dana and Mandy fighting over photo shoots and, completely negating the concept of wins and losses. And then, of course, like, we're not even mentioning Alexa Bliss and what's going on with her and Shayna. Like, Alexa Bliss was, at this point, the mind control is, like, the least of our concerns. We have Nikki Cross as a superhero. What's
Doudrop.
Doudrop, I totally forgot that. Everything involving the women's division is awful right now on the show.
I would concur with that. Some of the follow-up from... I think you look at those women's programs, it is just... brutal what they're navigating through with some of these stories. You did get some good wrestling on tonight's show, and positive or negative, it was a much faster paced show. You had stakes attached to pretty much all of the matches, so that inherently made things move quicker and be more engaging. But it's Raw. It's Raw. You're complimenting on a curve.
Well, I do applaud them for giving us fresh directions with Kofi and Lashley. I mean, for once, we're not getting a WrestleMania rewind, rematch season. Like, we're getting Kofi and Lashley. We're getting Drew telling a losing streak story, which, we'll see where they go. And then the Money in the Bank qualifiers, which, all make sense and are relatively fresh faces. So I'm positive on the men's side of things, but the women's is just something's going on. It's not good.
And we've got the antique, Jeff Hardy.
The antique, yes.
All right, we're going to go over to forum.postwrestling.com. Tonight's episode of Raw. On a scale of 1 to 10, you said 6.85. A very generous rating for tonight's
relatively high for
Raw. I'll say, like, the last hour, the third hour, pretty solid when you couple Drew and Riddle with the Hell in a Cell match. I mean, you got... I would say about like 40 plus minutes of pretty strong wrestling in there with commercials, of course. Mm-hmm. Let's go to Brandon from New Jersey. A rare written in report from Brandon. You want to know what happened tonight, Way? An update? So I was told that I had to defend my championship tonight. The Inter-Channel Championship.
Intercontinental Channel title, yeah.
So I had to make a defense before Raw ended. So I said, fine, listen, I'm someone that I'm not going to just use a desk panel to get out of a title match. I will defend my championship. So I went in, a fighting champion. I defended against Brandon from New Jersey. And ladies and gentlemen, I was beaten by Brandon from New Jersey, who made a calculated error from the WWE playbook. He gave me an automatic rematch, and I snatched that title back, and I bolted from the room, and you won't see me all week. So fight it out this week. I'll be watching from afar. Someone impress me, and maybe I will defend that title this Friday on SmackDown.
Wow. You refreshed the loan. You renewed the loan at the library.
I made my mandatory, and now I'm off. I'm on vacation.
Damn! Wow. I feel terrible for the Discord, but congratulations to you, champion for at least another week.
Listen, I do immeasurable prestige that gets added to that belt every hour that I'm holding on to it. So they have to look at the big picture and understand that one title defense from me means so much more from any other champion.
Wow. Do you have anything to say about that, Brandon?
No. I'm not reading your feedback and taking you on the show. That's too much of you.
He hung up.
Does that mean I have to read this?
Yes, it does.
My dearest John and Way, happy belated Los Padres Day. Been a minute since we spoke. No, it's actually been 5 seconds since we spoke. Hope all is well, man. I truly mean it. Respect the way you guys forged your will in the fire of competition, because if you didn't, then you wouldn't have had the courage to face your greatest obstacles. I haven't watched Raw in quite a long time, and due to the Sixers' performance last night in Game 7, I felt inspired. Inspired to write again. Inspired to lift my voice and speak to the people. His meanderings. We'll see how many we get through. Okay, wait, just give me the hook if you get tired of these.
No, every single one of them. We're gonna get.
I don't want to be too sarcastic here because I don't want Brandon to retire again. Ricochet dressed like he was inspired by Terry Hogan in his FU New Blood style. Remember that?
Not really.
Remember FUNB? Hulk Hogan?
No. Is that like his version of FUBU?
I don't know if it was directly like Terry Bollea saying, how can I adapt FUBU to Hulk Hogan in the year 2000? Why was Ricochet dressed like he was going to wrestle Nick Gage at a GCW show? Was Riker imitating Jim Caviezel from Passion of the Christ? With Ottawa loosening travel restrictions, what is the first thing you want to do with the newfound freedom? Road trip to the Big Nickel? Also, it's 11 degrees in Parry Sound.
No, I don't think I'd. It wouldn't be my first trip to Sudbury, nor Parry Sound, but maybe my 10th trips.
Okay. And he wants to recommend grappler Craig Jones.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Always a wide variety of meanderings from Brandon from New Jersey. We haven't gotten him in written form lately, so thank you, Brandon.
Thanks, Brandon, as always. We got a Kate from Montreal who says, on Sunday, Rhea Ripley was disqualified from a match for hitting Charlotte not very hard with the cover from the announcer's desk. I know this happened because I saw it 24 hours ago, but in case I didn't remember, there was a segment about it on tonight's show. Randy Orton slammed John Morrison into the announcer's desk and put him through it, but this did not warrant a disqualification. I think
because that desk got in Randy's way. The desk should have been disqualified.
Yeah, I think we established this. Like, if he lifted the desk to hit an opponent, he would be
completely ridiculous. What about the water gun? Does that constitute a disqualification? Is that a interference from an outside participant?
Did the ref see who shot the water gun?
Yes.
Did he?
We all saw it.
We saw it. Did the referee see it? Could have been raining in there, in the Thunderdome. I know other stuff happened on the show. Bits of it were good. More of it was bad. But it doesn't matter because all of it will be forgotten in a week. Or it won't. Chaos reigns. That's the other show.
Alexander from Portland. This weekend was hell. 2 unadvertised Hell in a Cell matches on TV on top of its own pay-per-view. This gimmick feels very overdone. I mean, you say that, but I mean, it did work on Friday. And we'll see if this helps tonight's number. I don't think it's going to hurt it. At the very least...
we know, of course, it'll help. I mean, but so would having a WrestleMania every single week. You know, why wouldn't they call tonight's show WrestleMania Raw?
Money in the Bank is looking great so far, and tonight's qualifiers made me much more interested in seeing who will qualify on the SmackDown side. Tonight felt like the best episode of Raw in months. That said, the women's division has lost me. If Rhea and Charlotte is the title feud going forward, it's a cold match to offer fans for their big return to live crowds. See, that's where I disagree. These two can have phenomenal matches together. It is what they have been saddled with and the way that they have booked this feud that it's taken your interest in these two out. When bell to bell, I have no problem with these two having a great match, and with a live crowd left to their own devices, I'm sure they'll have a fantastic match at the pay-per-view. But the steps to get there are what I am not looking forward to. Similarly, Alexa Bliss is a tough one to see getting good reactions. Drew and Bobby came across as stars tonight. Lashley going 2-0 in Hell in a Cell 2 nights in a row feels like a genuinely great moment in his career. If Kofi gets the title match, please give us Xavier in Money in the Bank. 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Woods in Money in the Bank, although right now it doesn't really seem like that's his role, nor will there be a spot for him, because we do have SmackDown qualifiers as well. But I thought Woods, was used to great effect tonight. He keeps bringing up the King of the Ring as sort of his, white whale. And, as soon as they bring him back, I imagine there'll be a big audience push for him to be the one to win it, or at least challenge to make it to the end.
So that was all of your feedback to Raw. So thank you for, number one, tuning in live, for Rewind to Raw, submitting feedback, and for just supporting Post Wrestling. So thank you to all. Thank you to you, Wai, as always, the superhero of Post Wrestling.
Oh, I don't know if that's a compliment tonight, but thank you, John. And thank you to all of the patrons who support us at postwrestlingcafe.com. You're the reason we have jobs. So thank you guys. We'll be releasing a bonus show for you all Tuesday, and a lot more to come in the Post Wrestling Cafe this week. MCU later, Rewind to Dine It Down on Saturday.
Lots of great stuff. Archives are up there. And of course, youtube.com/postwrestling. Go subscribe to the channel. Lots of cool stuff going up there. Maybe an extra show or two that may drop this week. So always keep your eyes peeled to the Post Wrestling YouTube channel. That's it for us. Thank you very much. And we'll speak with you later this week.